Trump just saved the suburbs. Suburbia. He ended the Obama-era policy of forced diversity, forcing suburbs to have low-income housing, thus bringing down property values and increasing crime. Without this rule, Americans will now be safer, happier, and better off in the suburbs because they will no longer be forced to build low-income housing. Now, we're going to talk about why low-income housing is a problem. We're going to talk about Joe Biden and how his plan was basically to destroy the suburbs. And we're going to talk about Elizabeth Warren, who's calling Trump racist because he ended this policy, even though she directly implies that only African Americans are poor, which is certainly not true and a really disgusting statement. Hello everyone, this is Mr. Obvious, and today on the internet, we've got to talk about Donald J. Trump once again, Elizabeth Warren, the Democrats, and sleepy Joe Biden. So, you probably may have seen this tweet, and oh man, a lot of people are upset about it. Donald J. Trump says, "I am happy to inform all of the people living their suburban lifestyle dream that you will no longer be bothered or financially hurt by having low-income housing built in your neighborhood." He says, "Your housing prices will go up based on the market, and crime will go down. I have rescinded the Obama-Biden AFFH rule. Enjoy." Now, people are angry. Here you can see on the Daily Mail, he has axed the Obama-era diversity rule, so suburbs will no longer be bothered by low-income housing, and then blah, blah, blah. Elizabeth Warren calls him a bigot. But I'm sorry, Elizabeth Warren, you are a bigot. You ever notice this about Democrats and the left? The things they actually believe are kind of racist. Because when you think about this, what does ending low-income housing in suburbs, being forced to have them, what does ending that policy have to do with minorities? Nothing. It has absolutely nothing to do with minorities. It has to do with low-income housing and low income and poverty. If you invite poverty into a nice area, the area will not be as nice. And then you attract the criminal element. It becomes less safe. You don't know who these people are. The fact that Elizabeth Warren says that it's racist to deny low-income housing implies that she believes that only POC, people of color, that means African Americans and other people, are poor. Who the heck would believe that but a blatant bigot? So where's the real racism here? Is it from the Republicans, the right-wingers, and the conservatives? No, it's coming from the left. And I'm not the only person who've said this. Man, there's been left-wing people who have noticed just how a lot of these liberal types tend to have these racist beliefs. So we're going to get into this. I'm going to explain to you Joe Biden's full plan to destroy suburbia, why people are mad, and why this is actually a good thing. But before we do, if you're new to the channel, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit the bell button for notification for more content. And if you like this video, please consider sharing it online with your friends, with the normies, because I feel like a lot of people are going to see this headline. They're going to see that Trump ended the low-income housing, and they're going to be like, "Oh my God, how could Trump do this? Doesn't he care about the poor? Oh my goodness, this is bad," without really thinking about what it actually means. And I also want to point out the blatant hypocrisy among these Democrats, because you know damn well, Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren, they're not living near low-income housing. They're not building low-income housing in their neighborhoods. They're living in their rich, gated communities with private security, green lawns, and they're nowhere near poverty or anything. Okay, so they're massive hypocrites because they would never live in one of the areas they ruined. So, for those of you wondering, the AFFH, the Affirmative Furthering Fair Housing, and look at that headline. Look at the name the Democrats give it. Fair housing for all. No, you're forcing suburbs to build large complexes of low-income housing, and then you cast out from the big city all of your poor people, and you move the problem to suburbia. First of all, that shouldn't even be legal in the first place. This should never have been a law. That is unlawful. How are you going to tell people who own their own property that they don't have a right to decide what they want in their neighborhood and then force this to happen? Now, make no mistake, this AFFH, the Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing Act, or whatever it was, is extremely destructive. Here on the New York Post, we're here with Betsy, and she explains why this is a disastrous thing for America. So she goes on to say that starting in 2015, President Barack Obama's Department of Housing and Urban Development floated a cookie-cutter requirement for a balanced housing in every suburb. Balanced meant that affordable even for people who need federal vouchers. You mean welfare? Basically socialism. And I'm going to be honest, even in the city when they build low-income housing, it usually doesn't work out because the costs associated with maintaining that housing far outweigh the ability to rent and to raise rent to the appropriate levels. Now, I do think that landlords are kind of full of it a lot of the time, and that rent is higher than it should be. But at the same time, low-income housing is different. It's not affordable most of the time. So towns were obligated to do more than simply not discriminate. As a 2013 HUD proposal explained, rather, towns had to make it possible for low-income minorities. Yeah, because only minorities can be poor. What a bigoted statement. See what I mean? Democrats actually believe that only minorities are poor. That is such a racist idea. And I'm offended by it. I am. It is deeply offensive, it is deeply wrong, and it is deeply incorrect. To choose suburban living and provide adequate support to make their choices possible. So I want you to really understand what they were saying here. They're basically saying, hey, we can no longer take care of our poor. We want you to do it for us. And if you don't, we'll call you bigots. This has been Barack Obama. Now I'm going to go buy $100,000 hot dogs. Later, tater. And yes, he did actually spend like a crap ton of money to fly in hot dogs to his vacation place in Hawaii or some shit. I don't remember. Okay, so had the rule been implemented nationwide, towns everywhere would have had to scrap zoning, build bigger water and sewer lines to support high-density living, expand schools and social services, and add mass transit. All of this would have pushed up local taxes to high levels. You see, when you talk about low-income housing and people on welfare, what you're talking about is people supported by the teat of taxpayers. You know, people who are sucking the blood out of the system. I'm not saying that it's parasitic. What I am saying is that these people can't take care of themselves. And who pays the price? The taxpayer. No thank you. I want my taxes to go to my town. You know what I'm saying? Towns that refuse to would lose their federal aid. Oh, those Democrats. They say that it's unconstitutional when Donald J. Trump says, we're not going to give you aid if you continue to let people riot in the streets and burn down buildings. But oh, it's okay when they do it. This is blackmail, folks. So the rule was one of the worst abuses of the Obama-Biden administration. A raw power grab masquerading as racial justice. But say no more. Trump just ended that plan. And this is why it's so important and actually a very good thing. So, you know, the Daily Mail article goes on to say that the reason that Obama implemented this plan in 2015 was to end patterns of discrimination in housing. Dude, poverty is not discrimination. Poverty is poverty. You do realize that there are poor white people who can't afford to live in the suburbs? You know, poverty is equal opportunity. Poverty is not discriminatory. It doesn't care if you're white or black or blue. Being poor is being poor. That's what I hate about the Democrats, and that's what I hate about these left-wing liberal types. They actually believe that white people can't be poor and have never suffered. How ignorant. Elizabeth Warren explained how the rule was put in place to help cities, quote, address our country's ugly legacy of government-backed housing, discrimination, and segregation. You're literally doing what you're saying you're trying to fix. You're segregating minorities and shoving them into government-backed housing. Get into your government-mandated low-income housing and get out of my city! It's like the Democrats are like these cartoon villains, you know, in like top hats. They have these monocles and they go, our plan to get rid of the ghetto is complete. By simply moving it to like the suburbs. Come on. So Trump has been an avid advocate, or should I say, a critic of this policy, saying to the suburban housewives of America last week, warning them, quote, Biden will destroy your neighborhood and your American dream, and again, pointed to the housing rule change. He also staked out a number of positions to play to his majority white base. Yeah, okay, I resent that. Trump has support from people from other races. He's got support among Hispanics. He's got support among the African American community, among Asians. What makes you think that Trump supporters are all white? You think I'm white? Do ya? Because you might be in for a major surprise, buddy. And then they basically go on to whine about Trump. I don't know why Daily Mail does this. It's always some irrelevant crap in the end. But you know what is relevant? The comment section. So let's check it out, folks. Now, I want to read you the top comment because I feel like this is very important. So here we have someone from the United States who says, I took the red pill. I'm a POC living in the suburbs, and frankly, I don't want low-income housing in my neighborhood. It has nothing to do with race, and everything to do with quality of life, crime, property taxes, and property value. See, this is why the Democrats are racist. Being poor has nothing to do with being a POC, because you have plenty of POCs living in the suburbs who don't want low-income housing. And, there's other people saying that this is really good. So, someone from Fort Wayne, United States says, he's not wrong. Look at his stats. If I buy a house in a nice neighborhood, I shouldn't have to worry about Section 8 housing going across the street. And you know what, my friends? That's pretty much the story. The Democrats are grandstanding again. And they're also such massive hypocrites because you never see them build low-income housing in their neighborhood. But that's merely the obvious. Well, that's all for now, folks. What do you think about this story? Let me know down below in the comment section. As always, if you like the content and want to support the work I do, you can join me on Patreon or Subscribe Store for as low as $1. Doing so will give you access to a private Discord server. If you want to donate, there's donor box and crypto. And why not drop by my merch store? I've got a lot of designs to choose from. The link is down below in the description. If this looks cool to you, come check it out. Anyhow, thanks for watching. This has been Mr. Obvious, and I'll see you all next time.